Gana Trucking and Excavating. We're putting out another reminder video today. Today we're going to talk about something that everybody in this company, even in the office, truck drivers, heavy equipment operators, in the shop, and everybody in between, project managers, dispatch, we're going to talk about something that's very important that we deal with every single day. It's job site communication, okay? Communication is probably the most valuable thing that we do here, so it's very important that we get it right. We're going to talk specifically today about job site communication, but before we get to that, I just want to kind of give a wider view of why communication is so important and how easy it is to take for granted. Before one shovel of dirt is ever turned or one grade stake goes in on a job, excuse me, consider the months of communication that have already taken place before anybody does anything on the job. You've got property owners and developers talking to the designers and the engineers, who are in turn talking to the general contractors, who are in turn talking to companies like us, the subcontractors, and then we'll talk to subcontractors of subcontractors and things like that. That's just to get to us. And then within these walls, within the walls of Gana Trucking and Excavating, project managers are talking to the estimators about this job. We're talking amongst ourselves about how to bid the job before we get it, while we're looking at it, how to run the job once we do get it, how this job will affect other jobs, who's going to be on this job, who's going to actually do the work on this job, what equipment is going to be needed for this job, when will the equipment get there, when will this fit onto our schedule, and 1,000 other conversations and communications are happening before we ever get started. Now that's a lot, that's the high level view. But today, like I said, we're going to talk specifically about job site communication, and even more specifically, we're going to focus on driver, operator, and communication on the job itself, okay? So we're going to start at the start, and I'm doing it right now. Talking is the most important thing that you can do regarding job site communication. Blunt talking, be clear with each other, do it every single day. One, when you get an assignment from the dispatcher or the project manager, if you're a heavy equipment operator, make sure you understand the assignment and that you can carry it out. If you're unclear about the instructions you get, whether it's a dispatch directive the night before where they text you that you're going to run this job and you have a question or you're not clear about something, ask them. If you're a project manager or a heavy equipment operator and your project manager gives you an assignment on this job and it just doesn't make sense to you, ask a question, okay? Make sure that you understand the instructions that you're being given. If you have a question, ask a question. Two, after you've gotten the instructions from your dispatcher or project manager, you understand them, you are confident that you can carry them out safely and efficiently. Now we're talking on the job site itself. When you get to the job site, start of every single day, or if you're new to the job site, coming in for the first time that day, talk to someone so that you can coordinate with the operator, with the drivers, what's going on, okay? Every single day, or when you come to a new job site, you need to ask questions and talk with the people who are already there, or who are going to be running the job. Some things to ask, these are very basic. It's the who, what, why. What are we doing today? What are we trying to accomplish is essentially what we're getting at. How are we going to do this, okay? How should trucks enter and leave if you're a driver, okay? Where should trucks dump or wait to get loaded, again, if you're a driver, and any special instructions. Again, these are just some basic low-hanging fruit questions to ask. There could be 1,000 different questions to ask depending on what job and what task we're trying to do that day. But talking right away when you get there so you understand what the plan is and how to best carry it out is the most important thing you can do, okay? 3, if something changes on the job, inform everyone. Operators, if there's a change, inform the drivers, dispatch, and the project managers. Drivers, inform the operators and dispatch if there's any change, okay? Operators, we ask that you speak with dispatch to let them know about changes so that they can coordinate the trucks with other jobs, okay? If you change material that needs to come or need fewer trucks or more trucks, dispatch may already have a plan in place that they can coordinate with other jobs too. Drivers, if an operator says that you're done for the day or to go to a different location or bring in a different material, confirm that with dispatch before you do that, because there may be a need at another job or a better way of completing the next task. If it's late in the afternoon or mid-afternoon and the operator says we're done here for the day, don't just bring the equipment back to the yard. We might have another job just a mile or so down the way that is in desperate need of some trucks that we just couldn't figure out how to get. And we finished one job early, so dispatch can simply drop those trucks at the other job and keep going, okay? That's why it's always important, before you leave, before you change anything significant, talk to dispatch. If you're a driver, talk to project managers if you're an operator, okay? And as always, if you have a question, ask a question. You've heard that about 3 times already today. You're probably gonna hear it about 4 or 5 more times throughout the course of this video, okay? 5, if you see something, say something. Now this is an open-ended thing, okay? That can mean any number of things, but if you see something that's drastically going to change the situation, if the ground's getting too wet because some weather rolled in, say something. Operators, if you get to a job at a certain time that you were told to be there and trucks aren't showing up, wait a few minutes certainly, but no more than 10 minutes, and then call that into your project manager or call it into dispatch, because maybe a mistake was made and the trucks were rerouted to another job and nobody was aware of that, okay? Maybe the dispatch was never made aware that your particular job needed trucks. Don't sit there for 2, 3, 4 hours waiting for trucks and they never come. And I say that because that is a real thing that happens from time to time here, okay? Give it 10 minutes, if no trucks are there, call it in. If you have too many trucks, call it in. If you don't have enough trucks, call it in. Again, you can't define when you should call it in, except for those examples. Those are definitely times you need to call it in. But if there's any significant change, call that in, just so we're on the same page. Drivers, conversely too, if you get to a job and there's no operator there to load you or give you directions and you don't know what to do, don't just sit around and wait for 10, 15 minutes, call it in. We wait an hour, 2 hours, again, these real world problems have happened to us in the past. We don't know in the office, dispatch won't know, your project managers might not know there's a problem unless we're told about it. We can't fix it if we don't know that it's broken. And in so many ways, the drivers, the heavy equipment operators, the techs out in the field, they are the eyes out there to let us know what's going well and what's going poorly and what changes need to be made. Okay? Point 6, now we're going to talk about some signals and the best practices on job sites itself. We're going to talk about the things like when you're pulling up to a place to either get loaded or dump, you might hear a beep from the loader operator. That generally either tells you to start or stop there, you know? You'll hear a beep when you're getting loaded. That usually means you're done, you're loaded and you're ready to go. When you're pulling in to dump, you might hear a beep and that tells you to stop, this is where we want it. I said might, okay? That's also why the first part of this talk was so important, about talking every single day, to know that that's what the operator's preference might be, what that beep or the horn might mean, okay? Another thing to look out for is when you're coming in to dump, if an operator puts his bucket on the ground, generally, you're indicating that is the place where the material is to be dumped, okay? Again, generally. That's why the first part of this was so important. The operator will let you know the start of the day, start when you get to the job. When I put my bucket down, that's where we need the material. It's things like that. Everything hinges on the very first part about this, which is just simply talking and figuring out the plan, figuring out how the trucks enter and exit, where do you want the material, where do you want me to get loaded, things like that, okay? So we're gonna head out in the field shortly, see a couple of these from Blake. Okay, we're out here at the Gana sand pit, just to represent any job we would potentially go on. Blake's in the loader over there, so we're just gonna simulate, and this sounds simple, and it is simple, but communication, when it's best, it is simple, which is why we're doing this. We're just going to simulate if a truck driver comes up to a job site, operators should see him, and if they haven't talked already about a specific job site, what it's going to look like when the operator actually puts their bucket on the ground in a way that is demonstrating this is where the material goes for the driver to dump it. Again, these signals and stuff should have been discussed earlier in the day, that's what the operator is intending to relay to the driver, okay? Don't just take it for granted if you've never been in this job and the driver or the operator puts the bucket down here that that's what he means. Be clear prior to this, that was what the operator meant to say. Okay, so let's do that. So right now, as Blake drops the bucket, in this scenario, that's where he wants us to do it, when he taps it down a few times. Usually they don't just set it down once, they'll tap it a few times. And that's where he would say, hey driver, dump it right here, and then he can go about his business if he wants to, or in this position, he's setting up so that he can deal with the material once the driver comes and dumps it. It's as simple as that.